Hello, welcome to episode 20 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby Podcast, brought to you by iSpy Surveys, the go-to specialist survey and inspection company based in Exeter, Devon. So what will episode 20 entail? We are going to check out the news, and the most important news being that this week the Gallagher Premiership has in fact been ring-fenced for the season. So Ollie and I will give our views on that. We'll also talk everything ruggers, from the Six Nations to the Gallagher Premierships, latest rounds to the Allianz Premier 15 for the ladies. We'll also have a little look at the Fantasy Rugby, although we probably won't be looking too hard, as I am, in Ollie's words, getting pumped. And I am certainly considering some drastic measures to improve my current situation and claw a few points back on Ollie. So, yeah, that is what is going to be taking place on this episode. So it just leaves me to say that we are on YouTube, Anchor, Apple Podcast and Spotify. Those are all the platforms. We are also on Twitter. That is at Top 2 Inches RP. Go along, subscribe, give us a follow, ask questions, leave comments on whether you like the podcast or dislike the podcast. Do we need to get rid of Ollie? Is he bringing the show down? Let us know. Anyway, that is what's going to be taking place on this episode. Let's get down to it. Okay, so let's just check in on round 12, I think it was, of the Allianz Premier 15s for the ladies. And there's a little bit of admin just to kind of set aside first. The game between Wasps and DMP Durham Sharks was suspended or postponed. A pitch inspection by an independent RFU referee took place at Durham University, and the pitch was deemed unplayable, with more freezing temperatures set to continue over the night of the Friday, and throughout the Saturday. It was felt that the game would be unsafe to play, and obviously player welfare is massively important, so that game will be rearranged. There is no date for that at the moment. So the round 8 game that was postponed between Harlequins women and Saracens, which was originally scheduled to be played on Saturday, the 2nd of January, the Saracens ladies have been awarded the win because there were 28 players who had to isolate because of a COVID outbreak in the team. Further kind of investigation took place, and the understanding was for so many players to isolate, there had basically been a breach of the minimum operating standard, and basically too many players were training during a session. So the points have been allocated to Saracens women, which makes it very interesting because round 12 saw Loughborough Lightning beat Harlequins ladies 20-17. This was a live streaming game, which saw two of the top 4 teams going at it. There were quite a few red roses on display for both teams. Abby Ward, obviously, for Harlequins, and Emily Scarrett for Loughborough Lightning. Really interesting and close game. And again, it was obviously Emily Scarrett showing her class, which with a penalty to take it to 17-14 near the end of the game, for a bit of a grandstand finish. And the decisive moment came 5 minutes later when a textbook Lightning line-out drive saw leading try scorer Lark Davis crash over and edge the visitors into a 3-point lead. They then held out for a memorable win, and have actually leapfrogged Harlequins into second place in the league. So really a fantastic result there for the Loughborough Lightning over Harlequins. We also had another fantastic game between Bristol Bears ladies and Sale Sharks, with the Bristol Bears ladies coming out on top 22-12. I did have a little bit of a review of this game, watched some of the highlights, and all I can say is the physicality in this game was ridiculous. Both teams were putting in a massive amount of effort and were really kind of going at each other. It was a fantastic game to watch. Well, I say the highlights, and Bristol Bears definitely deserve their victory. Okay, so I had a little bit of a issue there, technical issue, whilst I was recording the review of the Bristol Bears ladies in the Sale game. But I'm back now. So carrying on, Exeter Chiefs, Susie Appleby's side went down to 6 ways, looking to get closer to the top 4 with victory over the Warriors, which did happen. That's 3 wins in a row, or even in a row for the Exeter ladies. They came out on top 17-10, and it was actually their 5th consecutive win in the Allianz Premier 15. So that is a fantastic result for the Exeter ladies. And they are certainly, as I've said in the last couple of weeks, with wins against Saracens and Harlequins, the main games to have won, putting their marker down in this league. So Saracens ladies and Gloucester Hartbury, it was a 36-10 victory to Saracens. I've not seen any highlights of this game, but just having a little review or look over the review. It looks like it was a pretty easy victory for Saracens, but Gloucester Hartbury obviously had a few red roses in their team, tried to make a bit of a game of it, but in the end, Saracens ladies just come out too strong for Gloucester Hartbury. So Saracens are top of the league with 50 points. Second are Loughborough Lightning on 43, followed closely by Harlequins on 42. Wasps are in 4th with 39, and Exeter Chiefs are in 5th with 34, followed by Gloucester Hartbury, Bristol Bears, Worcester Warriors, Sale Sharks, and poor old DMP Durham Sharks. 9, played 9, lost 9, and 0 points. So that is really sad times for them. But yeah, another fantastic round for the Allianz Premier 15 for the ladies. Ollie, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Hello, mate. Good evening.
Wow, we got to episode 20, mate. Can you believe it?
Is it?
Yeah. And also, some interesting news. I was looking at the anchor analysis, and we actually have a female listener.
Well, there you go, mate. There you go.
Which I am absolutely chuffed about, I have to say. So if you are
good to know we appeal to all, mate.
Absolutely. So if you are that female listener, and you'd like to get in contact with us and just let us know how we can kind of improve our kind of chat, or what's that word? I can't think of the word.
Banter? Rapport?
No, not banter, not rapport, because obviously we're quite good at that already. Coverage of the female game, i.e. the Allianz Premier 15. Let us know. Obviously, at Twitter, at Top 2 Inches RP on Twitter. Drop us a message. Give us some feedback. That'd be cool if you are that female listener, or any listeners, mate. We've had a few questions, haven't we, over episodes? So yeah, we're quite chuffed. Anyway,
just one question: is the female listener your mum?
No.
Right. Okay.
No, mate. Mum's 70. She can't work out a Nokia phone. Sounds like you're eating, mate. What are you eating?
All right. I'm busted. Absolutely nailed. Well, as we're doing this in the evening, aren't we? So I'm sat in my little man cave. I've got a nice glass of wine and some dark chocolate buttons. Actually, that's about as exciting as my life gets now.
That is
One
quite,
little vice in life.
that is quite exciting, to be fair. Oh, well, good for you,
Are
mate.
you getting hungry now? You getting hungry?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting a bit peckish, I have to say.
I'll stop eating while we're doing this though, because it's obviously
No,
not good
mate,
for the
you carry
sound, is
on.
it?
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Can you just out of interest? Obviously, we've had that little ongoing issue of like popping and crackling. I can't hear it this week. Can you?
No, it's gone. Actually, I'm recording via the website rather than the app this week. So I think that's what it is, because it only seemed to occur when I was recording through the app, which is strange. I don't really understand why. I'm not a tech head, so.
Okay.
But anyway, it's gone. So I will continue as we are going forward, mate.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Okay, so there is obviously quite a fair bit to kind of get through. Do you want to start with the news first and then go on to kind of the rugby after, or do you want to just go straight into the fixtures of what went down over the Six Nations and the latest round of the Gallagher Premiership?
I don't mind, mate. Go start with news. What do you mean, sort of news and transfer news and the whole lot? Or
yeah, well, obviously the main kind of news is the fact that the Premiership has been ring fenced.
Yeah.
There will be no, obviously, relegation this season. So cracking news for Bath and Gloucester and Worcester, because they are all kind of down the bottom. I just wonder what your thoughts on. I mean, I know how I think about it, and I kind of think, as most kind of rugby podcasts that I've listened to, the kind of feeling is it just needs to be for this season. People can understand why it's been done, but at the same time, it kind of makes all kind of games a bit pointless, apart from maybe like the top 4, top 6. But then, like you made a very good point earlier in a text message saying, well, actually, they're all quite still important because people want to hopefully get into Europe next season. They don't want to be in the Champions Cup. They want to be in the Heineken Cup. So fighting to get up the table into those positions actually does make it worthwhile.
Top 6, so you get in the sort of Premier European Cup rather than the Challenge Cup, isn't it? But,
yeah, but obviously there's no jeopardy down the bottom for relegation.
No, it does definitely do that, which is why I've always generally been against the idea of ring fencing, because I just think it's season on season, if it was to be there all the time just as a straight ring fencing, no relegation at all, no sort of option on that, then yeah, you're just going to get dead rubber games down the bottom, aren't you? Especially the teams that haven't got a chance of getting any higher than sort of mid-table. For the kids, it's, if fans are going to lose interest, there's going to be less people in the stadium, the rest of it, isn't it? All the knock-on effects. But so yeah, I'm not a fan of it overall. But we discussed it before, didn't we? I think, like everyone else, in agreement that definitely it's a sensible approach for this season. I haven't heard whether or not, because they were talking about potentially 2 seasons, but I don't think there's any detail on to how long it potentially might.
No.
Which is actually potentially a concern, because it could be that I mean, a lot of people have been pushing for this for a long time. So it's like maybe COVID has been used as the get it in the back door sort of thing, and it may be here to stay now. You don't know, do you? But
no, absolutely.
But
I think we're both in agreement though. 1 season, okay, but next season, if it's not back to how it is normally, could it be back to, like I think I might have said a couple of episodes ago, where it's the bottom team plays the top team in the championship in a one-off game, winner takes all, loser takes the fall sort of scenario?
Yeah, I think that would be a good approach going forward, sort of thing, having a playoff at the end of the season, because they brought in I mean, I'm actually not initially sort of an overall fan of the playoffs idea at the top of the league. You have your top 4 and then semis and final. Just being a total sort of purist and traditionalist of the game, it's a league's a league in my view, isn't it? It's you're judged on how you perform over the whole season. So if you're top of the pile at the end, then you're top of the pile. But potentially you can end up finishing 4th in the league and still win the league, can't you? If you win the semi and the final. But that aside, the positives of that obviously is it's very exciting at the end of the season and brings in more crowds and money at the end of the day, which is what it's all about, isn't it? But in the professional game, but then so if you get a playoff down the bottom end, there's all those positives to bring in there as well, isn't it, for added sort of excitement at the end of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean I very much agree with you. I think I much prefer whoever's top of the table to kind of win the competition. But I do understand why money makes the world go round, and like you said, it does make it more exciting. But obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on about player welfare and keeping players safe, and there's too many games, and the RPA saying there's too many games, players saying there's too many games. And obviously next season, I think my understanding is there's going to be 13 teams in the league. So there's more games that way. Yeah, I mean, it's just horses for courses, isn't it? I guess we'll have to see how, next season's a long way off. We're only kind of round 9 of this season, and how it all kind of pans out, obviously, with COVID as well. But it definitely kind of takes the edge off this season a little bit.
It does, yeah. And I mean, last season was obviously affected, wasn't it? Exeter made the most of and did very well to get the double last year, didn't they? But this season's been impacted again, and it may well be that next season will be impacted as well. So we could see it for 2 seasons. But I certainly wouldn't want to see it any further than that. I think once you're sort of out of the woods from the COVID side of things, then we should get back to some sort of, like the rest of the world and everything else, try and get back to whatever the new normality is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so let's just move on. It's interesting news that's probably could potentially affect the Six Nations. So France have had positive COVID tests. So I'm just reading now, assistant coach William Servat has become the 3rd member of France's management to test positive for COVID-19. Head coach Gautier and another non-playing staff member both tested positive on Tuesday. So the trio will now isolate for 7 days, with France due to host Scotland on the 28th of February. All players are tested negative, though they have been advised they should self-isolate at home for the rest of the week. So interesting that there's been a bit of an outbreak in the French national team, but it doesn't appear Ireland haven't had any positives. So that's quite good. They were tested on Monday, and obviously the next game's not till the 28th of Feb, so it should probably give everybody time to get through it, I guess, and come out the other side. And
that's probably the blessing out of it, that we got the 2-week break now, isn't it? Yeah. So I think if we were looking at another round of games next weekend, then France could well be struggling to be able to play the game, essentially, isn't it? So which would sting, because as it stands, they're probably almost certainly the favourites now, aren't they? But a five, I think that would be a 5-point loss, wouldn't it?
I think so.
The internationals work on that from memory. That's how the autumn internationals, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So that would cause massive
Assume
changes.
It's the same. Yeah, that would give them a bit of a hit, wouldn't it? But fingers crossed. With an extra week, that should be enough to get everyone self-isolated and back tested and back to normal. But it's obviously going to affect them training and preparation-wise, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then another interesting thing is that the game coming up this weekend between Newcastle and Worcester has been cancelled. And obviously last weekend's game between Falcons and Northampton was also cancelled because Falcons had obviously positive tests in their squad.
Yeah.
So they had a small number of positive tests last week, and this has been followed up by more this week. And the halting of the team training, so the match at 6-way schedule for Saturday cannot go ahead. So I'm assuming Falcons received 2 points for that match against Northampton. Northampton obviously got the 4 points, and I'm assuming that will be the case again for this weekend. Worcester will get the 4, and Newcastle will get the 2.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, you pointed that one out to me, that that game was off. I hadn't actually read that one, but I think if it's Newcastle again, sadly, that have got a bit of an outbreak in the squad, then I assume, same as you, that it will be a 2 points for them, like you say, and 4 points for Worcester. So good result for Worcester without having to play. And I don't know. Predictions wise, what I probably would have backed Worcester to get that one anyway. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because they did well. Let's not go into that too much detail because they did have a good game this weekend. So although they did lose, So some more news, and again, I don't know if you've read this, but obviously it does affect Bath. Priestland is off to Cardiff.
Confirmed. I think everyone knew, didn't they?
I don't know.
Finally. Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the worst kept secrets, but yeah, he's it's been confirmed anyway by Bath, hasn't it now? So.
Yep, he's definitely off.
He's definitely going.
He's definitely off. But then, that's no great loss, is it? They were trying to get him out the door a couple of seasons ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a bit strange what happened a couple of seasons ago. I don't really know exactly what went on there with Burns and everything, wasn't it? But no great shakes. We need a new 10. And
you've got the South African lad.
Yeah, you got Tian Schumann. Yeah, he's obviously some hopes for him. Good initial signs from him, so hopefully he'll do the job. But I know Hooper's come out. Well, actually, I don't know if you know that Priestland's put out a statement basically really bigging up Hooper, saying he's a class DOR and all that sort of thing. So that's a good show of his character, Priestland, and a good thing to do as a parting positive note for Hoops as well, isn't it? And likewise, Hooper's responded in the same way about Priestland, saying what he's done for the club and off the field as well. Sort of obviously he's very experienced, isn't he? But sort of showing the youngsters especially how the way to go, the path sort of thing as a professional player. So it's good. It's always good to hear positive notes like that people leaving on positive notes, isn't it, rather than
absolutely
negatives. And Hoops has also confirmed that the club is still looking for another 10.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, so that's interesting as well.
Cipriani is on his way.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, supposedly there's been discussions going on there, but I actually think, well, I don't know. I just don't know. You never know. But I just don't think overall. Thinking about it, it's not a good fit, is it? And potentially I think Hooper's trying to build something there, isn't he? And he's trying to get the right, similar to how Chiefs have led the way on that, haven't they? Getting the right people to fit in your squad, in your club, and getting that culture and whatever culture or ethos you're trying to build there, getting everyone bought in. Pat Lamb's doing the same at Bristol, isn't he? And I just don't think Cipriani can, from what you hear anyway of past club stories and stuff, he doesn't fit into any culture other than the sort of Cipriani culture, doesn't he? So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you've got Tian Schumann. Once Priestland's got it, it'll be Tian Schumann, I guess, as number one, and youngster Orlando Bailey, who's highly touted, but he hasn't been given much of a senior chance yet. But it'd be nice to see, especially now relegation's not in, the likes of him getting a bit of game time. I think it's prime opportunity when you haven't got the risk of relegation. Actually, get these lads in. You've got Max Green, number 9, Orlando Bailey, number 10. I'm not necessarily saying playing them together, but give Bailey a go at number 10 when you've got Spencer inside him and maybe Matavesi and Joseph or whoever outside. So there's experience all around. It's the best way to bed in your youngsters, isn't it? But
yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's certainly what Borthwick.
Interesting.
Yes, that's certainly what Borthwick kind of did last season with Leicester.
Did he?
I
thought he did the opposite. He just chucked all the kids in.
Well, I mean, flipping heck, why not?
No, well, because I actually
big enough, you're old enough.
He did. I think actually towards the end he changed it slightly, but he was doing almost the opposite, wasn't he? He was chucking in literally like a full back line of kids or whatever, and they're just getting absolutely spanked, weren't they? Which and no one really learns anything. You don't really learn anything about the player, and the player just can't really grasp the level of the sort of senior Premiership rugby. So I think it's only fair on both sides to to sort of feed in a few at a time, mixed in with all the experienced guys, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're right there, mate. Is that the dog?
Yeah, you can hear that, can you? So that's going to be on there now. The dog's having a dream. probably chasing some rabbits or a ball or fornicating with some doggy lady. Anyway, let's move on. So let's leave the news behind us. Let's go to the Six Nations. So Saturday saw England versus Italy. England came out on top 41-18. Obviously, the week before that defeat against a fantastic Scottish side. Did they bounce back well? Did they improve? They certainly, from the game, from what I watched, they certainly looked more attack orientated, and there was some good kind of attack play, but it wasn't anything near a kind of perfect performance. What was your kind of view?
England, Italy, similar really, mate. I think obviously far better than the previous week, but I mean, just I'll probably do a very short summary. In my view, it's far better than the previous week, but still a long way off where they should and need to be as a team, and certainly as a few players still very much lacking, and questions to be asked about them. I think whether they should, at the end of the day, whether they should be still being selected. I think Lawrence Dallaglio was one to pick out. He named Billy at number 8, didn't he, and Daly at 15, and I would 100% agree with those two. They're nowhere near where they need to be at the moment, aren't they?
No.
But not massively impressed. It was obviously better, but at the end of the day, it's against Italy, and Italy again. I thought they played some good rugby against us and held their own in spells, didn't they? But
yeah, I really enjoyed Italy's first try.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really well worked try, really good. Hit England while they were still sort of getting off the bus. It was a really good try. But yeah, I mean, like you said, England then kind of took over, and obviously, they scored 1, 3, 6 tries, I think it was.
Was it 6 in the end?
Yeah. Hill, Watson got 2, May, Willis, and Daly.
Yeah, and poor old Willis, wasn't it? That was a side story, but
Jesus, I tell you what, sat here watching the game, and obviously there's no crowd. You can hear the players, and then that scream. I was like, oh my god, poor bloke. And then obviously there's, they didn't sort of show what happened, but they showed the angle of like Ellis Genge's reaction and the Toji's reaction. You were just like, flipping heck, poor bugger.
Well, it is, and I think it's probably worse just his individual circumstances, isn't it? Because it's he's had so much time out for severe knee injuries as well, isn't it? And he's come back like showing the character of the guy. I mean, that could have ended careers with some guys if because it hits and affects people mentally in different ways, doesn't it? If you get a real nasty one. But he's come back even stronger, made his way into the England team, and literally within sort of 10 minutes of being on the pitch, that happened, isn't it? Which is horrendous. But in fact, what was it, 5 minutes after he scored his try as well, I think, wasn't it?
Something ridiculous. I mean, that's just rugby, isn't it? That's just the luck of the draw. But I think also just kind of looking on social media and kind of following how things are, it's maybe not as bad as they initially thought.
It's not ACL, I don't think, is it?
No.
So that's a massive plus. Yeah, he's going to be out a while anyway, isn't it? That's the problem, though. If it doesn't, things like that, if you don't get a broken bone or whatever, then it's just lots of, it's almost worse, isn't it? You get so many ligaments and tendons and the lot, isn't it? It takes a lot of recovering, but
yeah, because I mean, initially you'd rather just have a broken bone, wouldn't you? Realistically.
Yeah, they'd patch you back up and job done, sort of thing, isn't it? But oh no, it's just it's a very sad part of the game, unfortunately, wasn't it? But
yeah, absolutely. Just one thing I want to get on. Obviously, Ben Youngs, he's played 104, 6 games maybe now for England and Lions and all that kind of stuff. A class player. But England just even when Robson came on, they just looked even more sharper.
Yeah.
Do you think Youngsy's time is done?
Yeah, I do actually. Kind of not half, probably more than half back to Youngsy. I do obviously rate him as a player. I've always, as a fellow nine myself as well, I've always right from when he first started playing, and it just doesn't seem to have changed. His service is, as in,
slow.
Yeah, it's just slow and actually not overly accurate all the time either. But and you're an international world class number 9, so that should be just bread and butter, isn't it? But
yeah,
and it's still no better after 104 caps. So
something like that. Yeah.
so yeah, I've always had that criticism of him, but yeah, I do agree. Unfortunately, I think as well, probably more so in the latter years, he's more inconsistent. I think he's always been a bit inconsistent, but probably more inconsistent. He'll have like one unbelievable sort of world-class performance type game where you think, crikey, he's probably one of the best 9s in the world, and then he'll have 5 or 6 very, very average at best sort of games where making a lot of errors and not looking particularly dangerous at all, sort of thing, isn't it? But yeah, I think Rob's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the longest Robson actually has had on the pitch.
Yeah, he came on after 51 minutes.
Yeah, he got a full half hour, didn't he? So
yeah,
normally it's just a couple of minutes, isn't it, at the end? But
yeah, and he looked really good. It
did.
Looked a lot sharper.
Yeah.
It looked a lot quicker.
Yeah, the pace picked up in general, didn't it? And
yeah,
he looked very dangerous.
You could have Randall on the bench, and then you don't really lose any kind of, speed, service, quickness of thought. I just, yeah. I know obviously Youngs is a Leicester lad, and obviously I support Leicester, but I just think time's done realistically. If we want to progress and move forward, into this 4-year cycle of the next World Cup, I can't see him being around. So why keep him going?
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. I mean, I'm not. It's sort of international rugby it's although they always talk, sort of Eddie Jones is always about his plan for the next World Cup and all that, but realistically, it's about winning your next game, isn't it? Because all of them are judged on performances. So, but I do totally agree that for a long time we need to have sort of brought in and sort of nurtured the next generation of 9s, isn't it? But and that just hasn't happened for whatever reason. And Robson's not the youngest, isn't he? Is he 29?
Yeah, he's around the 30 mark, isn't he? So he's not. This probably would be his last World Cup, realistically, potentially.
But he could be a senior man, couldn't he, if you give him a bit more game time?
Absolutely.
But there's plenty of youngsters who have got the potential. It's just they need to be given the game time, isn't it? It's
yeah. No, I'd agree. Okay, let's move on. So the next game, obviously, it was Scotland-Wales, which finished 25-24 full time to Wales.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Gutted for Scotland.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Ferguson's red card on 54 minutes played an impact? Because, I mean, to be fair, I didn't get to watch the second half. Dad duties took over, had to feed the kids and, start the bedtime routine. But Scotland in the first half looked quite dominant. Obviously, they got up to a couple of quick tries, and I kind of thought, half time it was 17-8 to Scotland. I thought, here we go, Scotland are definitely going to be, seeing this one out. But it was that age-old adage where they kind of let the game go in the second half. Reece Samet picked up 2 tries. Liam Williams got a try. Wyn Jones got a try.
Yeah.
And then bang, it's over. 25-24. Triple Crown's gone. Grand Slam's gone.
Yeah, I just feel really. I actually felt really gutted for Scotland, which is
yeah, I did.
I know. No, I don't think any Scottish fan would feel the same way about England losing, but
oh, God, no.
but I kind of I like what Townsend's doing there. I like the style of rugby. Obviously, they've got some extra Chiefs boys involved, which always helps, doesn't it, for sort of local lads in their side doing a good thing. And Hoggy, especially in the England game, was just unreal, and he seems to be developing into an immense captain as well. Like, which is a bit of a surprise in him. Didn't necessarily see that in him, but he's doing a good job as captain, I think. I don't know if did you see the touch he did at the end of the England game?
where he got the two young lads. All the debutants.
Well, that's just I just think that's fantastic, isn't it? It's especially being a fairly new captain. Most guys would be like, give me the cup, get your hands on it, take the glory, sort of thing, isn't it? But just to hand that to the youngsters is it just shows the character of the guy. But no, personally, I mean, you'll never know, will you? With that, what did the red card decide the final result? But Wales, to be fair, they got the sort of the try just before that, didn't they, to come back within 2 points, I think it was. So they were definitely on the up, on the comeback and on the up at that point, with the try just before there, wasn't it? So no, it would have been close. It would have been close. Whether or not it would have gone the other way, you'll never know, will you? But at the end of the day, red card's a red card. Can't argue it.
Doesn't help.
Can't argue it. It's done. It's just part of the game, isn't it? But I just I had a conversation with my old man before that game because he said, "Oh, they'll be losing this one, Scotland. Typical Scotland. A fantastic game beat us last week, and then they'll go and lose to Wales." And I said, "No, I think something about them, they're different now. I think they'll back it up." But it was Scotland of old, wasn't it? But
mate, your dad's wise. He's wise, absolutely wise. He knows his stuff.
Just get him on the pod instead of me, mate.
Well, there has been calls for getting rid of you. No, I'm joking, mate. There hasn't really. A bit harsh. Lewis Rees-Zammit, what a lad. 2 tries, 2 fantastic tries. Boy, that guy's quick.
Yeah, what can you say, mate?
I don't even think you'd catch him, mate.
Certainly not these days, mate. What can you say, mate? He was outstanding, wasn't he? Outstanding.
He was brilliant.
Yeah, he was everywhere
really,
as well.
Really
It's just so good to see getting involved in the way he did, like for such a young guy, isn't it?
So his kind of chat after the game and his interview was really good as well. He seems to have like an old head on his shoulders for such a young lad.
Yeah, well, he's got to be pretty sort of cool, calm, collected, and mature to be able to pull out performances like that at such a young age, isn't it? But it's good, definitely good signs for Wales. And I actually thought Sheedy, when he came on, made a huge difference as well. I didn't think Bigger played very well at all. Sheedy changed the speed and tempo of the game. I thought they were completely different. So certainly attack-wise, when he came on, I thought he had a very good game. But so I'd like to see them start Sheedy.
Do you think Wales? Well, 2 wins out of 2. Obviously, France, the only other team with 2 wins from 2, which we'll move on to now. France went over to Ireland, 10-3 up at half time. Game finished 15-13. I thought France kind of just were a lot better in general than Ireland. I thought Ireland's try was a bit kind of lucky, bit of a loose ball picked up at the front of the line out and down the line he went. But France just look brilliant, don't they? To be fair, they just look. Ireland's a tough place to go any day of the week, and to come away with a victory is really good.
I think that's probably the main difference with France, isn't it? Like years gone by, that would have been a slip up for them, wouldn't it? They would have lost that fixture, but
maybe that's what, like, in like you say, in times gone by, a bit like Scotland, get off to a great start and then lose the second.
Yes, yeah, just not got that consistency of it, especially with the away games. But no, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't watch that game. I've only seen a bit of the highlights, but it's probably closer than I thought it would be. But so fair play to Ireland for sort of keeping it like that, isn't it? Keeping it that close. But yeah, from what I saw, I totally agree with you. Although the scoreline was very close, I think there was probably never really any doubt as who was going to win it, was it? It was.
So do you think pressure's on? Well, actually, let's just take it back a second, because obviously I think this was, what's the famous Irish second row? His name's gone up.
Paul O'Connell.
Yeah, it was his first game in charge. Is he in charge of forwards now?
I think he is. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure actually what sort of official role I think, but I think he is forwards coach, is he? Or at least brought in. I'll be honest, I don't know if it is a official or a full-time role, but I think he is the forwards coach now. But I might be wrong.
Do you think they kind of, the forwards fronted up a bit more then? Or do you just think it was, I don't know. I just thought France in every facet of the game was a lot better than Ireland, and I just kind of didn't see O'Connell's mark. I know it was obviously maybe his first game, and obviously if it is an official capacity, it's going to take time for him to bed in. But it didn't look like there was much difference to the previous week. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but I don't see Ireland as certainly as sort of powerful or the danger that they once were. A few years back under Schmidt, they're definitely in a transition phase with Farrell, aren't they? It's so I just it's similar to Wales, really, certainly going into the tournament. Just as they're not as not the power they were. So going and actually getting a win in Dublin is, if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it, sort of thing, isn't it? But I think it's hard to judge. Certainly hard to judge O'Connell on his impact just on one game, but be interesting to see how they go for the rest of the tournament, because Farrell's got a lot riding on this tournament, I think, for his holding his position, because it's tough over in Ireland. I think they're
well, that's what I was just going to come on to. So Stephen Ferris, the old Irish and Great Britain, British Lions flanker, Grand Slam winner, he's basically saying, what did he say? So he basically said, if Ireland have another couple of rocky weeks, there will be questions asked, and rightly so. The head coaches are getting paid a lot of money, so he's certainly thinking that Farrell is under pressure. If this kind of, because that's the first time Ireland have lost their opening 2 games.
Ever, is it really?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, it's tough, and I know it is. Ireland generally, I think, is they got very high expectations, haven't they, of their national team? So it's a pressure. It's definitely a pressure job. So,
but has he? He's not really been given time, has he? It's like you just said, that Ireland are in a transition period. He only came in around the Autumn Nations Cup, didn't he? So, or was it before that? Oh my God, I don't really know.
He was before that, but I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure he was around for the last Six Nations, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think so, but I know Pivac wasn't, was he? But I'm pretty sure Farrell was around last Six Nations. But yeah, it's still early days. If you could talking about overall being fair to a coaching game, but it's international rugby, isn't it? So it doesn't always work like that, does it? But,
it's do or die sometimes, isn't it? Fans and people expect results straight away.
Yeah, but it'd just be interesting. I'm interested to see, because I've never been, in all honesty, a huge fan of Farrell's sort of views on sort of tactics and the way the game should be played. So I'm more interested in seeing whether he, as a sort of a coach and a manager, can adapt to the way the game is now, because I think his sort of way of playing was probably fine and well suited 5 or 6 years ago, similar to Gatland with Wales, when they were in their sort of dominant era. A very powerful game, do you know what I mean? That's what I'm more interested to see with Farrell, is whether he can adapt, because the game's obviously changed and needs a bit more. It's not just about big defences and big runners, and you need a bit more than that to break down defences and things these days. So
well, it's a bit like England, isn't it? They need a plan B.
Yeah, and a plan A would be useful.
brutal analysis there from Ollie.
Well, the attacking's still pretty. I mean, it was obviously a lot better. Watson was good, and a couple of the guys stand out. But going back to England, but overall, just the attacking's nowhere near where it needs to be. But
what about Johnny May's try?
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Is it a try though?
Well, it was given.
It's
a try.
But there was people saying, obviously, wasn't it, that he jumped the tackle, which you can't do, and then people are obviously saying that he was diving for the line.
Yeah, he dived for the line. They get trained to do that. Been trained for years, isn't it? It's dive.
Yeah, but he jumped up and then forward.
Yeah, it's diving for the try. Yeah, diving for the try. They do that because you can't tackle the guy if he dives, can you? So otherwise it's in the air tackle, isn't it? So they coach them. Farrell I think was one guy coaching them to do that. In his days of England, literally getting Ashton and it probably was still Johnny May at that time, on the training field, training to actually dive to score the tries. But no, I thought personally, I thought it was a fantastic finish. It was.
It was, and just his he skirted along the touchline as well, and then obviously launched himself. Yeah. And just to have that understanding of the position he is on the field to get the ball down. Credit where it's due. That was a bloody good try by Johnny May. Yeah,
and it's all these decisions, even like the red cards. I know Ferguson's red card decision was debated, but my overall view is referee's decision. Once it's done, it's done. The game's over. There's no argument. The decision's made, isn't it, sort of thing. But you can still sort of debate these things. I'm not saying people aren't allowed to have an opinion or that sort of thing, but rugby generally is, once it's done, referee's decision type thing, isn't it? But I thought my view on the Ferguson one, I don't know about you, but it was a harsh call, but under the current rules in within the game, it is a red card, isn't it? So
yeah, and there was, I mean, it's had, I just think it's interesting that he's got a longer ban than Omani from the previous.
Has he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he's out for the rest of the tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's let me just quickly. So Ferguson was punished for a dangerous clear out after his shoulder connected with Wyn Jones's head at the breakdown and has been banned for 4 weeks.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So an independent disciplinary committee deemed the foul play warranted a mid-range entry point, a 6-week suspension, but reduced that by 2 weeks to account for mitigating factors, including his admission of foul play and a good disciplinary record.
So 4 weeks, he's out.
So it would have been 6, mid-range kind of going at 6 weeks, but dropped to 4 weeks as he basically held his hands up.
Is that the rest of the tournament?
And said, there's only 4 games left, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got a break this week. I'm just trying to work because it goes on into March, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's not weeks, is it?
Oh, right. Okay. It's actually, sure. Of course it is. It used to be the time, didn't it? Weeks. Yeah. No,
weeks.
It's Okay.
Yeah. No, it's games. So he's but I think Mahoney
get him back to his club. He can play a few games.
No, he can't. No, because he'll be banned from them as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but if he's selected, then it counts as a game, doesn't it? I don't know. I'm just
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, no, yeah. Ashton did that, didn't he? I think when he was up at Sale.
Yeah. But I think they did it with Sigma recently as well, didn't they? He one of his Quins games counted to his ban. Yeah, I think so.
Oh really?
I think so.
Okay, we'll have to see. Someone let us know. Okay, let's leave the Six Nations and move on to go to the Gallagher Premiership round 9. Friday night lights, Bristol against Gloucester. I watched this game. Gloucester, 2 awesome intercept tries. They both were bloody brilliant tries, to be fair. But I think what I kind of liked, Bristol obviously got off to an early start with a hooker, but I think he was injured before the start of the game and he kind of went off. And then Gloucester came back into the game with their 2 intercept tries, but Bristol came out winners on top, 18-17. What I liked about Bristol's performance is it was gritty, it was nuggety, it was a kind of never give up attitude, and they didn't kind of throw the ball around like lunatics, and they played percentage rugby and got the win. Did you?
Yeah, I have, and I totally one that got away from them, sort of thing, isn't it, on the result? But dogged it out, and literally, I think it was sort of final kick of the game by young Lloyd, wasn't it? The Welsh lad, wasn't it?
Yeah, because obviously Bristol were missing quite a few stars still, and I appreciate Gloucester were as well. But obviously, I just wonder because the decision was made for the ring fencing. Did Gloucester go out and just throw the ball around a bit more because they knew they had nothing to lose? I don't know.
I can't really comment on that because I didn't watch the game in full. But it was 2 intercept tries, wasn't it? So it doesn't necessarily suggest they played a load of
no, that's a fair shout. Yeah,
a load of running rugby or anything. But I aside from that, I think it's a really good result for Bristol, isn't it? Again, so
yeah, and it's showing another bone
yeah,
to
and
those
they
sort
are,
of strings, isn't it?
and they
String
are
to
is
their
when
bow.
they are pretty depleted. They're one side or one club that is on the sort of more affected than others. You know, there's obviously, I think there's a group of a few clubs who are really affected, not just by internationals but injuries as well at the moment combined, isn't it? And Bristol are one of those. So yeah, to pull that back and get the win, I think says a lot about them. I think they're well, we've already said, but I think it's probably fairly obvious they're going to be probably the main challenger to Chiefs and the title, wouldn't it? Yeah.
To Chiefs, yeah. Although, having said that, mate, the other Friday night game was an interesting one. Your boys went
Yes.
to Sale, came away with a victory, a 27-22 full-time result. I have to bleep that out in the edit, but hey ho. No, mate, totally agree. But what I want to ask you, and this is not me being anti-Bath, because I was actually quite chuffed they got the win, although they completely screwed my accumulator up by bloody winning. Do you think Sanderson, obviously, I think last week you sort of said, because obviously we were a bit late at putting the pod out, and you'd seen the Sale team, and you'd commented on the fact that Sanderson had made quite a few changes. I think if he hadn't made as many changes, it would have been a different story. Would you agree, or do you think Bath's performance?
I think it's irrelevant, mate. I think it's irrelevant.
That it.
Win's a win, mate. Win's a win. Too late now, Sanderson. You can't moan about it now.
Absolutely. No, I don't know if he was moaning about it. I just that's what I was wondering if you had an opinion on that.
Yeah, it could quite have been. I mean, just Faf de Klerk himself coming on made a big difference to their game. So you could argue if he started, McGinty started, a couple of the other. I think their pack was probably as close to first choice as they could put out at the moment. It was just the back line that wasn't. So yeah, you never know, but it's just one of those, isn't it? But you say, having said that, Bath are overall, they're one of the sides who I think are massively depleted from internationals and injuries, and other things as well at the moment, which we won't go into necessarily. But
no, better not.
Yeah, so it was by no means a full strength first choice Bath side. So there's that side to that argument as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
there was a lot of youngsters in there again, and to be fair, it was some of the youngsters who were really putting out the performance. Obviously, Tom Dunn was just unreal, wasn't he? He was probably one of the over unbelievable.
Tackles.
I think the top 10. I can't remember the exact stats, but I think the top 10 players tackles were all Bath players, and I think the top 3, which I think was Tom Dunn, then Miles Reed, and I forget who was there. Probably I think it's Williams, who played in the second row, didn't he, this week? But ex-Leicester boy, isn't he? But those 3, those 3 put in more tackles than the Sale side altogether, I think. So
it was a really good performance. But am I right in thinking that Sale had a try disallowed? So
they did. It was one as well. It would have been a fantastic try, Faf de Klerk it was, but sadly, it was sort of around the back pass that he did that ended up going forward. But
now, see, I saw that and I did wonder: does the
camera? No, it was forward, mate. It was forward.
That it was picked up on. Okay.
Decision made. End of game.
Yeah, win's a win. Win's a win. So yeah, I mean, a really good performance.
In all honesty, I wasn't. Although I backed my boys, I wasn't head sort of thinking. I wasn't expecting to go there and get a result, but I was just praying that you'd get a performance put in, not going by the last couple of rounds. Certainly, the Bristol game was just the real low point. It was just a shambles. Just players not literally looking like they weren't putting an ounce of effort into the game. But so it was more about just getting the performance going, because your results come with it once you get the performances going, isn't it? But
yeah, but interesting. You made a comment just a minute ago that it seemed to be the young lads that were really putting the effort in. Do you think they dragged the old boys along with them?
no, I think personally, I think they probably had some serious hard conversations and a bit of a shake up, and they've selected the guys who they feel are going to put that effort in and play for the club, which is looked like what it was lacking a little bit. So I'm hoping that's what it is anyway, because definitely the way the performance went overall, and most of the players put in some seriously good performances and some serious effort. So hopefully now he's got the bunch of players who actually want to play for the club and get us out of that get us out of that little
forward.
Not very nice blip that we were going through, and fingers crossed that is the end of that blip.
That's good. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so let's move on to Saturday. My boys Tigers were away to Quins. Half time, Quins were winning 30-17. So quite an open game. Final score was 37-24. I saw the highlights. I think Van Poorveld, the scrum half, he's a decent lad. Definitely, one for the future. Scored a really nice try. And Martin as well, the second row flanker, who I actually didn't realise was in Eddie Jones's shadow squad. He scored a good try. But I think Harlequins just had, they're on a bit of an upper at the moment, and they just seem to be playing with a level of consistent kind of togetherness since Gustard's gone. And Harlequins has always been, the Stoop's always been a hard place to go to get a victory. I mean, Marler played really well, I thought, and the forwards. I mean, again, I know obviously it's a loss, but I just like the fact that it was a bit niggly, and there was a few kind of handbags and a bit more about Leicester, and it was, I don't think it would have been nice to have got the losing bonus point, but I don't think, to be fair, they were actually in not any chance of winning, because every team's got a chance of doing anything, but they didn't really do enough to kind of put pressure on Harlequins.
I agree in that game alone, but are you still thinking top four for Tigers? Or?
Oh yeah, of course, mate.
Absolutely mental.
Surely you're thinking top. You're thinking top four for Barcelona.
Just as long as it's not bottom four, I'll be happy, mate. No,
fair enough.
Yeah,
we've turned the corner.
I think we've discussed this already on the pod, haven't we? Yeah, I totally agree, mate. They're playing. They're showing some real positive signs. My honest view, all banter aside, is I think they're going to struggle to get top six. They might just get into the top six, but at the end of the day, if you look at the last few seasons, anything around mid-table is going to be a good result, isn't it? Especially if they're playing some good rugby, and it's all of building and development signs, isn't it? Which is what it's looking like at the moment. So it's overall takeaway is it's another game, although they got the loss, and that's the thing I think is it's as long as they keep building and keep these positive signs and playing some decent rugby, and it's looking like it's developing as a squad and a club, then to me, that's a good season for Tigers. They along the way, they're going to get a few wins and they're going to get a few losses, which is why I don't think they'll be top four contenders like you think. But
well, we can all dream, can't we? But I don't think it is a dream. I think we'll be top four.
Exeter, Bristol. I'm just trying to count the sides who will definitely be there. Exeter, Bristol.
Well,
Exeter, Bristol, probably Sale. Surely. Yeah, will they keep it going? Will they keep it going?
That's the question. Okay, so let's move on. Exeter, London Irish. I was a bit surprised about this. I mean, I thought Irish, because obviously the Irish beat Chiefs, didn't they? And I know obviously it was like a 2.0 team last season for Chiefs at Sandy Park, but I thought Irish had been playing quite well, but Exeter just kind of blew them out of the water a little bit again. Simmons got 2 tries, and if Eddie Jones, I'm assuming still, obviously with the injury to Willis, isn't thinking about.
I haven't heard any selection things there. Has he brought anyone else in or no?
No, I'm not that I'm aware of at the moment. And Cuthbert scored another try. I was just a bit disappointed by Irish. I know Sandy Park's a tough place to go to, but I just thought the way they've been playing recently, they were playing quite well, and I thought, it would have been not necessarily a victory for them, but they might have come away with a losing.
Yeah, potentially. But on the other hand, it potentially could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? If it was Exeter on because I still don't Exeter on anywhere near their best, are they? I think they're past their sort of stutter, because they had a couple of losses just before the sort of 2-week break, didn't they? So that was their stutter and low point, and then I think a couple of rounds since then they pulled out wins, but not been certainly nothing convincing. And I think this one was just a little bit more, wasn't it? It's like they're just gradually tweaking it up a bit, but so they did enough to get the bonus point win, didn't they? And but it wasn't, if you imagine that to be, certainly if it was a full strength Exeter side and playing at top form, I think they probably would have put another.
I think I've lost.
Hello. Yeah, but I do agree with you on the point about Irish have played some good rugby, so it's a shame they didn't contest a little bit more down at Sandy Park, wasn't it? But...
Yeah, and but I also think, I've noticed something now, just kind of looking over the while we're chatting. They did lose. Rona came off after 17 minutes. Stokes came off after 29. Simmons, the second row, after 27. So there was 3 guys substituted in within the first half an hour.
I didn't know that
of the game. So for whatever reason, they would come off. Yeah, well, just again, I'm just looking at the BBC News, and those guys and all kind of came off within the first half an hour.
Yeah, so that's quite an impact, a disruption, isn't it?
So there's a bit. That's quite an impact. And then obviously the substitute hooker gave old what's he called? The Witten. He came off because of a red card, didn't he? And Witten looked like his head had come off. So, there was obviously some losing a player in 71 minutes ain't that bad, but it is, but it's not. I think the game was kind of dead and buried.
Yeah, I think it was. I think they probably got one more.
But yeah, another win for Exeter. Not up to their normal standard, but just I guess one of those solid victories.
Yeah, I think Rob Baxter. I think he said this is your bread and butter games at the minute, isn't it? So as long as you're picking up the wins is the thing, isn't it? Especially with all the absentees that are missing from the playing staff, just grinding out the results and getting the wins, isn't it? And picking up as many points as you can. That's all you can do at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, and then obviously the other game on Saturday was Northampton Newcastle, which we've already chatted about, and obviously was postponed because of COVID. And then moving on to Sunday was the victory for Wasps at Worcester, 17-13. Wasps were winning 14-3 after the first half. So another loss for Worcester. Interesting fight back in the second half. But obviously Wasps just holding on to kind of take the win. Nice try by Tom Willis. Really good try, to be fair. Again, I think Worcester have such ability, but it's just that kind of, they have really nice running lines. They break to the line well. They break tackles well, but they just don't seem to kind of finish it off.
They need
which is a shame.
Like a sort of seasoned out and out guaranteed try scorer, isn't it? Someone like Chris Ashton's what they need, isn't it? Something like that. He hasn't played yet, has he?
Oh yeah, no, he hasn't played, mate. No, I've just realised we were talking about Worcester. He's gone to Worcester, haven't we? Yeah. So when Ashton starts playing, hopefully they'll start scoring. But that we joke about that, but Ashton's so good. I mean, flipping good at following lines and people's running lines and being there for the tip-ons, and I could see him settling in and probably getting quite a few tries. To be fair,
I agree. Yeah, and also bringing on. They've got a couple of youngsters, young wingers, haven't they? Who are very good potential talents, aren't they?
that David.
Yeah, it was. I've drafted him
brilliant.
I think it was last week. I've drafted him into my fantasy league, actually, my fantasy league squad. But yeah, he's but yeah, having someone like Ashton could potentially really bring those guys on as well, isn't it? So that could work quite well for Worcester, I think, having him around. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he goes. I think he's I heard he's not far off the top Premiership try scorer as well, isn't he? He's not.
Yeah, he's about 6 away, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, if that, I think I heard maybe. Potentially only about 4 or 5. But anyway, it's not far away. It's doable, isn't it, in a season? So be good to. I think that's probably what he's gunning for before he hangs his boots up finally, or goes to another club.
Yeah, we'll never know, mate. You never know. So let's start to kind of wrap.
Prediction. What was our predictions? Just going back before.
No, let's. Oh, what from last week?
Because I think I got all of them right, apart from I think I went Worcester rather than Wasps in the last game. I backed Bath. You went for Sharks, didn't you?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And you obviously backed your boys Tigers, and I backed Harlequin. So yeah.
Yeah. Exeter, and I think I backed Newcastle. You backed Northampton. Technically, you won.
Yeah, we can't really count that one, but yeah.
Yeah. No. You did quite well, to be fair. Okay, look, let's just not beat around the bush. Let's not go to predictions just yet. Let's just talk
fantasy rugby.
Fantasy freaking rugby.
Yeah, I noticed you
we didn't talk about
skipped it, didn't you, last week? Accident. It was an accident, genuine accident.
No. Yeah, no, I did. Well, we were like nearly up to 50 minutes chatting, and I thought.
I think we're longer than that now, aren't we?
But we're actually.
Sorry, people. If there's anyone still there.
Bloody hell, it's long. Yeah, if we've not bored you. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, what can you say? You're 300 points up.
Yeah, pulled away a little bit more this week, wasn't it? Was it 60, 70 points difference, I think?
Yeah.
Just over 300 overall now, isn't it? Yeah. So, breaking away, Gareth. I'm breaking away.
Yeah. But let's not forget the season that I won it. You were about 600
Yeah, I'll let you have that win there, mate.
At one point.
Mate, yeah, to be fair, he was the difference, wasn't
he? He was the difference. So I did text you in the week and basically said, look, I have got to do something, and I've made the decision to sacrifice some players who are injured and or out on international duty to free up some cash to bring some guys in. So although I will start the week on minus 60 points, I am hoping that the selections that I'm thinking of doing will pay dividends, and hopefully I could win the round.
So technically, if you're minus 60, that puts me pushing 400 points ahead at the moment.
Correct.
Oh, well, I genuinely hope it pays off for you, mate. But not enough to beat me, but just, start getting get a bit closer, yeah.
Just to make it a bit more interesting. Okay, fair enough. So let's move on to predictions. So Friday night, interesting one. I will definitely be watching this. Bath, Gloucester at the Rec.
It's definitely it's local derby and all that. It's always one of those games that you can quite easily have a bit of a slip up and a shock. But I would be very, very disappointed, especially after Bath's performance last week, and hopefully having turned the corner on the sort of problems of the previous few rounds or the rest of the season before that. I would be very disappointed if Bath didn't get a win there. And in all honesty,
Yeah, I'd agree.
well, it's not
I'd
needed
agree
now,
with
is
that
it?
one.
With but if you want to start climbing the table, it's definitely one you should be winning.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think you were right in what you said earlier on. Gloucester were only really in the game against Bristol because of 2 interception tries, and Bath did look.
Yeah, I mean,
shit
it's
hot. So yeah, I'm
Gloucester.
going for a Bath win.
I think Gloucester, their backline's unreal, isn't it? And then they may have like sort of Reece Summit and that available as well this weekend. But I think they're struggling a bit still in their pack, aren't they? That I think we've discussed before. Certainly I know they've got the new lad in the second row who seems to be starting quite well, but generally they haven't got numbers there, have they?
No, and he actually went off injured, which he only got me 5 points in the fantasy rugby, and he went off injured. Yeah, because I text you, didn't I, saying I've lost 3 guys
he was one of them,
in the first 20 minutes. Which,
yeah,
he was one of them, and obviously the Bristol hooker, and I can't remember.
But
who the other one was.
I think hopefully Bath's pack will sort of dominate the game, and that'll decide it. But we shall see. I'd like to see.
Fair play.
I'd like to see Tian Schumann get a start. I thought he came on as I think it was a head injury, HIA, wasn't it? 10-minute jobby in replace of someone. He played at centre, but he looked sharp. He looked good. He was sort of running the ball flat and on the line and taking it up to the line and some big miss passes and stuff like that. It looked good. He could potentially get the back line going, I think. But yeah, some good early signs. Fingers crossed.
We shall see. Good. So let's move on to Saturday. Sale are at Harlequins.
Tough one to call, isn't it? It's a tough one to call.
Well, I'm assuming Sanderson will go back to his first for full strength. Harlequins obviously have been playing quite well, and they are at the stoop. Give me Quins.
I did, yeah.
You just have a large gulp of wine.
It's nearly all gone, mate. I'm gonna have to go and refill it. Yeah, do you know what? My head says Quins, because they are on a decent run and they seem to have kept it going longer than I thought they might. But I've just got a feeling Sharks are gonna they're gonna react.
Will be annoyed.
And potentially their pack could very much dominate Quinn's pack if they want to and they pull out a performance. So I'm gonna wing it a bit and go Sale.
Okay, fair enough. Northampton at Exeter. So
Chiefs.
Northampton didn't play last week. Yeah, Chiefs. Now this is an interesting.
Yeah, that's another.
Wasps at Leicester.
That's another tough call.
I'm obviously going to back Leicester, but I do think it will be a 6-point win.
Yeah, I'm going to back Tigers, mate. There you go. There's a first.
Are you right?
Better check this wine. I think there's wine from.
I'm going to mark that down in the diary. And then obviously the other game, Newcastle Worcester on the Saturday, which we know is off. So moving on to Sunday, Bristol at Irish.
Bristol for me. You going Irish, eh?
Irish. I'm going to go.
They could do it if they pull up. Who was it? They pulled out the performance of their season a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Who was that against now? I'm trying to think. Cheeky bet. No, was it Newcastle? But yeah, I mean, if they pull out a performance like that again, then potentially, because Bristol are weakened, aren't they? But no, I'm going to stick with Bristol. I just think they're similar to Chiefs. They're just they're doing what needs to be done to grind out the results at the moment. So.
Well, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Okay, so we have our predictions for next week, and we'll hopefully do a lot better than we have done lately. Well, I certainly need to. Anyway, all right, mate. Well, listen, we are at 68 minutes, so this will be the longest pod yet. and hopefully people are still listening, especially our one female viewer.
20th pod, mate, and breaking the records.
Yeah, that's breaking the records. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, listen, mate, thanks very much for coming along and filling us with your rugby knowledge, wine, and
very much enjoyed it, mate. Very much.
Buttons. And good. I'm glad. And obviously, if I don't improve on the fantasy rugby, I think that's probably it for me. I'm joking.
Never give up.
I'll always believe I'll win. Never give up. No retreat. No surrender. Anyway, listen, mate, I'll let you get off, and we'll catch up again.
Thank you, mate.
On episode 21.
Speak to you next week.
So that's the end of episode 20 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby podcast. Thank you very much for downloading and listening to us chat about ruggers. Also, a massive thank you as ever to iSpy Surveys for continuing to sponsor the show. Hopefully we've improved their business no end. We are obviously available, as I've said previously, on all good kind of platforms such as Apple Podcast, Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. Everything went completely out of my head then. We're also available on Twitter at Top 2 Inches RP, so go along, give us a follow. As I've said before, make comments, leave comments, let us know what you think of the podcast, good and bad. And we will be back next week to review another round of the Gallagher Premiership and check in on the Allianz Premier 15. So until then, be safe and we'll talk soon. No, you won't. You'll listen soon and we'll talk. Anyway, see you soon.